We're ready for it.
I just know what to expect with you, Jillian. It's big,
I'm so
big
grateful.
energy.
Well, I mean, I think I showed up in our first call. I had joined our co-author space and I was like, hi, I'm just here. I joined an hour ago. Like, here's me.
Yes. And then Tamara, you are all sparkly, looking glorious.
This is from the chai shop.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Safrianna probably remembers that.
So let's go ahead and do introductions because, some people might be watching this and know a few of us. They might know all of us, or they might know none of us. So since Jillian, you came in with this big energy, why don't you go ahead and do a quick introduction of who you are?
Amazing. Yeah, I was just looking to see if this is on my profile. I'm going to check it out after. But if not, Safrianna, I see that it's on yours on Facebook, so I'll share it to mine if I'm not there. So
Perfect.
That's an option for us too. So hello, everybody. We have pulled together this little trio of goddessy deliciousness to talk to you this morning about our sacred book that is being put into the world and whatever else comes up. I'm Jillian Bolands. I live in Maine, mama to 3 little boys. Been married to my husband for a million years now, and I'm an intuitive life coach, a spiritual mentor. I am an author, which is so exciting to say. I'm a Reiki master of masters. I love to bring women into circle. I love helping women embody their own spirituality and whatever that means to them. I think we all have our own personal connections to spirituality. And so to be able to witness that, embody it, and express it in your own way, that is my deepest love. I love bringing women together in circle. Group coaching programs to support that. I love celebrating the moon and the seasons and all of cyclicality. So that's me. I mean, really what you see is what you get. I love going deep. I love getting intimate. I love bringing that solar powered connection with lunar energy together. That's, if I could sum it up, there you go. Yes. I'm a solar powered moon goddess. That's how I describe myself. I need the sun, but I live by the moon.
I love it.
Can I just say, I think that Jillian is actually hard to pin down with one word. I mean, I love that introduction. She's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, go for it,
Childs, I'm an intuitive consultant, and I specialize in helping highly sensitive or empathic people stop feeling like crash test dummies. So a lot of what I do is teach them about their own energy and what they take on from others and how to let it go so that they can, I say, live their most inspired life without self-sacrifice.
That is so needed right now, too. Oh, my gosh. And then I'm Safrianna Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide. I do a lot of what Jillian does, but instead of just niching for women, which is so important, we need women's circles, I offer experiences for LGBTQIA people and their allies to come together and deep dive into spirituality and alignment. Alignment and authenticity is really what I'm about. And I'm co-founder of Living Luna, which is a brand that is centered around uplifting the others of the world. And we're a social community, as well as offering education, consultation, and creative services. So
you're such a baller.
We're all such ballers.
We're all ballers.
And, so Tamara, you and I have been on the edge of some circles together. We've had some overlap in community before, and then we really got to know each other because of this project. And then Jillian, you just kind of popped into this project and you were like, hello, I'm here and I'm meant to be here, and have been such a beautiful dynamic energy in this. I'd love to hear a little bit about what brought you into this book project, because for me, it was the cover. I saw the cover design with the cover reveal and I kept going, I need to be in this book. I need to be in this book. I need to be in this book. And I kept saying, I don't know how I'm going to make it work, but I need to be in this book. And it took, I think, 2 months before I finally reached out to Jess and I was like, okay, let's figure it out. How am I going to be in this book? So what was that like for you all?
Okay. Actually, Tamara, you go, and I'm just gonna total transparency. My dryer or my washing machine is going right here. So if I'm muted, it's because I think it's gonna beep. So Tamara, you go first, and then just milk it, and then I'll go.
Sure. I had a similar experience to you, Safrianna. I saw the cover and it had this depth and it felt like it was sort of at the center of the universe. And there was just something about the energy of it that spoke to me. I wasn't even sure what I was going to write about, to be honest, even to the moment, when I signed up, I didn't even know. And there was just something about it that told me that was a place for me to talk about the story of my origins, both spiritually and, in this life, and how that led to an understanding of alchemy. So it was really just not a visceral response, but an energetic response. That's an energy also that Jess put around the book. It wasn't just the cover design. It was something that was infused there. And so it spoke to my spirit.
Beautiful.
That's so magical. I love hearing about your stories. And I got to read both of your actual written words. So it's like so cool. I didn't know that about both of you being called in. So what a great question, Safrianna. For me, I manifested you all. I manifested the opportunity. So Jess and I were introduced online by a former client of mine. And we live just towns apart and we had never met before. And I happened to see like one of her last call posts about Soul Alchemy, the actual book. And I'm not kidding, just days before that, I was speaking with my coach and I was like, you know what? I'm ready to open up and to create deeper connection and get to know other women that are a part of or are the leaders of their spiritual communities and really bring them together. I feel like between the pandemic, but I had my third child. I went through postpartum depression. I was doing all that I could over the past few years to really like serve and love. And I was also having some big, like veil being torn down experiences for myself. So over the past 3 years. And so stepping into this year, we're in 2023. Is that right? Okay.
Where are we in the timeline?
But also I know that for the past few years were tricky. But I was just like, my heart opened. I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to be among other people that are doing their sacred magical work in the world. And I'm ready to get to know them. I'm ready to serve their communities and invite them to serve mine. Because it's just, we don't have all separate communities. We just have separate circles that if we get to know each other, the circle widens. Right. And so I had verbalized that to my coach and she said, Jillian, just manifest it. You're magical at that. And quite literally, I saw Jess's thing or post and I was like, I sent her a message. I'm like, I think I need to know about this. And that was like at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And by like 11:30, I was in and we had our first call at 1 p.m.
I remember you just stumbling in there.
I was like, hi, sorry. My hair was like on top of my head. I'm like in my blue blockers and sweat clothes. I'm like, this was my normal Friday attire. Nice to meet you all. So fun.
So fun. Tamara, did you have some wheels turning as Jillian was sharing that?
Well, it's interesting to hear her backstory because, Jillian, I remember you saying, oh, I just decided yesterday. And whereas the two of us, we took some time to kind of mull it over and get drawn into the vortex of this book, basically. So I was absorbing, everything describing that. And one thing I wanted to, I feel like this is coming at
Jillian, is Tamara breaking up for you a little bit? Yeah. Okay. Tamara, I'm gonna energetically bring your internet back on because you just completely froze. Oh, she's completely frozen right now. Okay, I'm gonna pop her over to the side until I can see that she's dancing and moving again, and then we'll pop her back in.
You're so magical. Look at you, little wizard.
Yeah, once her head starts moving again, I'll know her internet has stabilized.
I've got my selenite wands. Like we'll just. I'm like, if you have one, I won't be shocked at all. Like there.
I have my fluorite.
Perfect.
Okay, I see her moving again. All right. Are we back, Tamara? Oh, maybe not.
I was in the middle of the pandemic.
No, it's
And I
We love you so much.
I think I can hear a little bit of what she's saying about it being the right time in the pandemic, which I totally agree with.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to hear her.
I know.
I'm popping her over to the side again so she doesn't have to be like, oh no, my face is stuck in an interesting pose. That's how I always feel with every screenshot.
Let me ask you, Safrianna, how do you feel? So we know what got you into the book and like the depth of connection that you had to it leading up to it. How do you feel post writing it, like having the thing in your hand? I won't reveal it until we all can, but like having the thing in your hand, how do you feel? Because your words are now not only out of your fingers onto like a Google document, they're in a book. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel really excited about that.
Yeah.
I have just been, okay, I don't know if Tamara can see my message. I'm trying to DM her and be like, hey, do this thing. It feels like this one feels more energetically clear than any of the other ones. So I've been in several multi-author projects. Right? Yeah, I've been in a book with Jess before. And it was really juicy for me, that first book, because I'd never told any aspects of my story, and like literally at all. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. Yeah. And I had to work through all the energy of putting my story out there. And then with this book, this was my third book. It really was like, oh, I'm fine with this now. I'm fine with the energy of putting myself out there. I'm fine with shining. I'm fine with showing up in this way. So it was a very different, and these books are just about a year apart.
Right.
So to be able to fast forward a year and be like, oh, this time writing my chapter, getting it in the book and getting the book, totally different, like much lighter energy.
It feels, one of the things that I discovered for me, so this is my first time being a part of something like this, but I think anything, especially if you're in that spiritual healing realm, coaching, supporting, working your magic in your own way, is that we're also evolving along with how we support and what we do. And I think it is so cool to just be able to almost gauge our growth and where we are based on either what we're creating, how we feel when we're creating it, and just seeing the evolution of our work, because it's happening simultaneously as we support other people. And I just think that is so powerful and a testament to the fact that we're doing it too, and doing it in our own sacred way. And we do it for us. And then if we so choose, we can leverage that to support other people. And I think even the book itself, it contains our deep stories. There are some really, really vulnerable shares in there, but they're told in a way, it's like speaking from the scar and not the wound. They're told in a way to show the reader that, like, if you are here, I've been there, and here's what I did to support me. And I just love how it intertwines like that whole human experience of like, this is a part of our overarching stories, just as much as it will be a tool to help people with their overarching stories.
Yes. And I loved, Mary Catherine is the editor that works with Jess. And just in case you have no orientation, Jess Verrill is founder of House of Indigo Publishing. And I've worked with her multiple times. Just beautiful, wonderful human. Natural number 9 like me. So celebrating that. And Mary Catherine does editing work with her in her workshops. And I remember with my draft for this chapter in this book, I had sent it over to Mary Catherine, was pretty excited about it because I hadn't had a lot of that energetic stuff that I did in the first project. So I was just like, here's my chapter. I read it. I'm really pleased with it. And I sent it over. And I didn't have as many edits this book because I was just more confident with using my voice. But also she mentioned that she was like, you are coming in from such an empowered place in this. Like I can tell my chapter does not, like, I don't trauma dump. Because I don't believe in that. Unless someone says, here, please unpack all of your stuff with me. But I talk, there are a few sentences peppered throughout my chapter that really are like this was the trauma. Like, here it is.
Yeah.
And I'd never written about that in any capacity before. And I think that I'm seeing that collectively now, right? Now there is this time. I think this was what Tamara was trying to say. It's the right time for people to receive these messages of like, you've lived a life that has been hard and full of obstacles, and
Yeah.
you are allowed to be empowered in them.
Right. Right.
You are allowed to be empowered even though you've been through all of these things.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you deserve it. It just means that you went through that thing.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are you going to do with that, right? Very exciting to have this volume that, I mean, I haven't read every chapter in it yet. Oh, Tamara's listening. She's trying to get back on.
Hey,
Tamara,
girlfriend, we love you.
come back.
Well, to your point too, Safrianna, having read your words, you did. You had some moments in there that it made the reader go, whoa. And then, but I didn't feel stuck in it. I didn't feel like I was being taken out by it. I was just like, oh, other people have shit going on too, or that they've gone through too, you know, and what's next? Because there was always a next, a beautiful invitation, almost like a hand extended, like, okay, now come with me because we're going to move through that. Yes, that happened to me. And let's see where I go next. You know, it's like, it's almost, okay, I'm just going to totally like lighten it right now. It's like in Finding Nemo when the little squirt, when the little turtle goes out of the current, and Marlin, Nemo's dad, is like, oh my gosh, but the turtle's dad is like, wait, let's see what little squirt can do. It's almost like you have that air of like the dad turtle, Crush is his name, and you're telling the reader that they can trust themselves because in fact you do make it back in to the EAC.
Oh yeah. And that's, I mean, there were times in my life I didn't know that I would make it back into any sort of peace or stability or whatnot. And my whole human design, a lot of my astrology, my natural number is really about holding space for people to know they can walk in their power.
Yeah.
To know that it's an option. And it's, I never want to be like, I did it, so you can do it. But like, people will react that way to me sometimes when they do know the depth of my story and what I've been through. Because I mean, if you look at like the wheels of violence, there's, you know, a lot of resources out there, Wheel of Violence or Trauma Wheel. Yeah. I've experienced everything on that wheel except for like war in my backyard. Yeah. Right. Like, and that happens in many people's backyards, unfortunately. But being living in the United States at this time, I've never experienced living where there is war outside of my door. Gang violence, yes, but not war. Everything else, yeah, I've pretty much gone through. And I'm like, when I used to tell people some of it, then they would treat me differently. They'd be like, well, how are you functional? How are you not broken? And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, clearly that wasn't the right approach to share with people. Tamara might be back, and it looks like her network connection is 10 out of 10 right now. Let's hope that's true. We're bringing her back in.
Fabulous.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. We missed you.
Oh, I know I missed a little of the conversation, but I was hearing Safrianna just talking about gang violence. Were you talking about that? Do you want to finish your thought?
Yeah, I was just mentioning, like, we were talking about how empowering our chapters are in this book, and just how, like, I've been through every type of violence except for war in my backyard. I've you know, had gang violence happening around me, but not like, you know, what's happening in Ukraine or what happens in the Middle East all of the time, or, you know, literally turf wars and stuff that happen for people. I've never lived through that, but I've pretty much lived through every other kind of trauma. And this book is really a testament, I think, to many people overcoming various traumas and being able to stand in their power on the other side and receive these sacred divine downloads or messages that say you're going to be okay. You can move forward. So yeah, Tamara, thank you for letting me finish that thought and reorient you a little bit.
Well, and I want to just add that I feel like trauma is something that was not a word My 83-year-old mother has just begun using that word in common conversation when we discuss certain situations or family dynamics. And she'll say, well, I think that might be trauma. Now, that was never a word used years ago. And I think that there's a healing space that we're moving into collectively where people are allowed to talk about things they've been through that have caused them to feel fragmented. And then we have the tools to bring people back into wholeness with who they are. So we're not doing like a spiritually bypassing, like, oh, you don't feel that way, don't talk about it.
Right.
We're embracing all of ourselves. And I think that that's another piece of soul alchemy too.
Absolutely. So beautifully put. And we're inviting people in, we're calling people in to do this work within themselves with this book. And to really be able to open themselves in a way to receive this healing in a way that we've never been able to collectively do before, because we couldn't even talk about the trauma. That's, your mother, bless her, for finally finding the vocabulary so that she can process some things, hopefully, before the end of her life.
Well, I mean, think about all the generations that have spent their lives somewhat numb because there was nowhere to go with pain. There was nowhere to go with, and then, I'm a different generation than you girls. So like I grew up with, some really extreme forms of people trying to get into their emotional and out of the numbness. So there was something called reevaluation counseling that is still around, or co-counseling, where it was invented by Harvey Jackins and taught to people. It was sort of a hippie thing where people would say, okay, here are the ground rules. Now everybody, get some pillows and then, beat on the pillows and create space for that person to have their 2-year-old tantrum. And, it was a little wonky because this was a grassroots thing. This didn't have like confidentiality. It's not like, anything, this was a 70s thing. And so I, as a little kid, grew up with, the adults around me who grew up in this very like stiff 50s, upbringing. They were like beating pillows and, for the first time in their lives. And I think we've evolved a little bit since then. And now we have a more elegant processes to help people.
I mean, hey, whatever works, I guess, but did it work? I don't know, right?
Actually, their release was my trauma. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's a really good way to reframe that. Like maybe it worked for them in some capacity, but I don't think it really works if what we're doing for ourselves does harm to others, right? Mm-hmm. Because then it's not compassionate. It's not compassionate if it's not compassionate for all. But the compassion has to start for ourselves first. And if someone doesn't know how to access that, then yeah, they're probably going to do harm in their attempts to emotionally process.
Well, I think it's an evolutionary journey though, because I think where we are now is so different than where people were then. It's just a different time. And I think people are more, they're more attuned to the subtleties between people, how another person might feel when they're accessing whatever that's going on with them.
Right. Yeah. Jillian, any thoughts on that? Just like,
no, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to live in a time where talking about all of it matters so much. And mostly in my world, it's very open and it's very welcomed. And for me, I think the biggest thing for me, and this is like a very like personal values-based thing, is I think that being able to talk about it, being able to have that honesty about everything that happened, air quotes or not air quotes, but everything that happened, talking about it honestly, and then creating your new dazzling path from that point, right? Like I'll never forget, I heard this saying, I think it was Mother Teresa that said it, like, don't sign me up for a war against anything. Like, sign me up for the brand new, sign me up for the healing, sign me up for, so, because I, in my very witchiness, I believe that words matter so much. So I feel like one of the cool evolutionary points that we are at as a collective is like yeah, let's talk about the trauma. Let's do the work with it, but let's not stay there forever. Let's actually use it to transmute through and create something new. Like, I'm not here personally, this is me. I'm not here for a rebellion against something. I'm just here to create a new revolution, a new revolutionary path. And I think being able to find what works for you and what speaks to you and utilize the gifts to help you sit and work through and acknowledge and be really honest about all. It's not even that just happened as children, but like trauma and just trickiness and yuckiness that happens in part of being the human throughout our entirety of our experience. It's so important. And especially as we get older and we do get better tools and we have deeper awareness, how can we create a new from that place? How can we, instead of, lamenting what happened and kind of arguing for those things that have hurt us, let's do that standing for ourselves and self-advocation and like doing what makes you feel freaking good. And I'm not talking spiritual bypassing. I'm talking about knowing what you have been through and leveraging your truth, your soul, your love to take you to where you're meant to be with all the experience you've had and all the experiences that are coming.
So well put. You both just like speak right to my soul because your words could be my words. Like, yes. And I love that you said, I'm not here to rebel against anything. And that's you claiming this is my role. My role is not to be in the rebellion. Like, my role is to create the new foundation for people to come into and to have the healing experience. In the second book that I was in, Rebel with a Cause, it's right there in the title. I said I'm a rebel against, this disruptive, broken system that's not healing people, right? And I think we need. I'm going to show my nerdness here for a moment.
Please do. I love it. I love seeing the nerdy.
We need our frontline fighters. We need our clerics in the back doing the healing. We need our sorcerers who are making the magic for people. We need the people that are out there doing the DPS, the damage per second, and like putting out information for people to access, because that's what breaks the system down, right? Is education. So we need this variety of types of healers that take on different forms, right? And our frontline rebel fighters, I'm not saying go out there and punch people or do violence. I'm saying these are the people that are out there talking. They're the ones that are out there doing like the face, they're speaking up. They are ideally our grassroots politicians, right? That's the movement that we see happening.
I completely agree with you. And it's funny. And I think like maybe a call to action, this is funny that we even went there, but like to everyone watching and to everyone who gets the book, like play around with it. Like what does call to you the very most in terms of your own experience and how you can best serve as your truest self to the collective, to the divine. What does call to you? Because I will tell you, I have tried to play the rebel and I have gotten visceral and energetic feedback that that's not for me. And there are other people that are quite literally designed to take up that sword, take up that action, I'm like, that's just not me. And that's okay. And so I love that we have a collective of 3 of us here and, 12 of us with the book and then hundreds and thousands of people who will get the book and hear the messages. And it's like, oh, right. What is truly of me, of my soul's calling, doesn't have to be compared to anyone else. And in fact, if I just do what I'm here to do, I do impact. I am a part of that greater army, that greater collective, that greater, oneness. Like that's what feels really lovely to me, is knowing that though it may be different than other people and the same as other people, my version of it matters. Your version matters. Tamara, your version matters, right? Like it just feels so lovely to know that like, yes, I'm being true to myself and oh my gosh, like I'm making my own impact because I'm being true to myself.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, Tamara, what you do, I love seeing you just stepping into who you are and what you do and what your zone of joy is. Cause like you put these posts out that are just like, you can tell they're coming from such a beautiful, authentic place. And I'm like, oh, I really want to do that for people, but that's not mine to do. That's not the kind of energy work I do. And I love this honoring what each person does.
And I think that there are different types of courage, and that people possess different types of courage based on their heart's desire and their path and what lights their soul up. And also within each of our lives, we have different moments. Like, I spent a lot of my early years really, really angry, really angry. I just was just ugh, because of some things that happened in my life. And I had to kind of work through that. And I'm not in an angry phase anymore, but I am feisty. And so, but my clients always say, oh, you're so gentle, but you make all these changes happen with me, but you're gentle with it. So it's funny. It's like, but I retain the feistiness. And I think that whatever your personal energetic qualities are that you bring in as a soul are useful in this time to break free from all of the barriers that are holding you back from your authenticity. And sometimes it is going to be part of an army, and sometimes it's going to be the teacher, and sometimes it's going to be, Jillian leading her upcoming workshop, and where she's just, I don't know, just there's candlelight and excitement and all the stuff that she does. So, I mean, it's really, I just would love for people to access more joy, and whatever that is for people, and get out of like, there's a sort of a collective numbing that has been going on for such a long time. People are overwhelmed. There's stuff being thrown at them. They have information overload, and there's a lot of numbing going on with pharmaceutically and all kinds of ways, because people are shutting down. They're like, I can't deal with life anymore.
Right.
So much, yeah. Well, we're getting more information now than we ever did because of these things, right? We have access to so much, and some of it's not good.
I mean, some of us were around before those things were invented, and believe me, it is a lot. And so I think I just would love for people to be able to distill and come into the core of who they are, and just do their bit of joy. Like the chickadees that I watch outside my window, they've got their own shtick, and they do their thing, and then my dog does her thing, and then each of us does our thing.
Yeah. The uniqueness, in my spiritual beliefs, if I get really macro for a moment, I think we're all just God. I think we're all just like here trying to try as many things on as we can. And some of us have forgotten that we're God. And when we forget that, I mean, we traumatize each other, we hurt each other, versus when we know our inherent worth, our birthright, our inherent energy, the essence of our soul that can never be destroyed, right? We literally have, this is where my background as a trauma therapist comes in. We literally have parts of us that protect our soul, our essence, from being damaged. That's why we have personalities. And so if we're able to just step into that self energy and remember, like, oh yeah, I'm a part of this big picture. I'm a part of everything. And I'm meant to just follow joy and to create and to be and to play in this realm that has been provided for us to play in, right? Like Earth has, as I look over and I see my giant amethyst, like Earth is meant to be enjoyed, and the beauty, right? I just want to hug this.
I know. Can I borrow that? I would like an amethyst hug.
I have my this disc with me. It's always fun to do a show and tell, but this is
because we all grab crystals. But yeah, like life is here to be. It's beautiful. There's so much beauty in this planet and the life that is offered to us. And yeah, like it's very easy to get disconnected from it. My chapter is called Becoming the Butterfly. And I talk about the 3 stages of a butterfly. You've got your caterpillar, which is eating. Then you've got the dark night of the soul and the chrysalis, and then you have the breaking free. And our caterpillar stage, generationally, has not been great up until maybe this point, right? Like we're starting, the gentle parenting movement. Thank God that we are starting to have parenting movements where it's like, no, you can let your kid explore their autonomy and their authenticity. You don't got to yell at them. You don't have to freak out on them. You can actually talk and process. But most of us didn't grow up with that, right? Our caterpillar stage was a lot of trauma. And so we have to recreate ourselves after that, or we get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's and I think that just using that analogy, Safrianna, of moving through that crazy morphing metamorphosis stage, you know, how do you do that by yourself? And I think that this is such a time for guidance and for receiving support and for understanding it's okay to receive support and to not put yourself on the back burner and tough it out. Like this whole thing about toughing it out, you know, I grew up with that. And I think that we're in a time where first of all, we don't have to tough it out because there's so many, you know, illuminated souls around us that are wanting to support and can take people through, you know, therapy and beyond. So this is the new way. And I think this book is so much a piece of that. I'm so excited too about the workbook. I don't know if you mentioned it while I was popped off. But
no, we said we wanted to wait until you were back to actually show our advanced author copies.
Oh, shall we do that?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
So these are our advanced author copies. The launch day is May 24th. We are right around the corner, friends. But look
Ah! I don't have my workbook right now, but I have my book.
well, I can't wait for you to get your workbook because it is stunning.
And it's also, it's delicious. I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be a thing that you can write in, you can color in. I won't describe exactly how, but you know, and it's full of deliciousness. Yes, it's cover to cover. It's delicious. And it's just a yummy thing for you to do for yourself is have this workbook taking you into yourself and exploring the stuff that you want to look at, you know, and, sometimes I always say to clients, I feel like naming things can be very helpful because what it does is it separates you a little bit from that as a thought. And so you're like, oh, this is me. And that's that idea. And that's another thing that I think this book and workbook do. And I noticed some of the deliciousness in the workbook is people being guided through some naming of things. And when you do that journaling, it's not just idle work. It's actually, it's a, you know, it's clutter clearing inside the psyche. It's just it's Marie, is it Marie Kondo? Yeah. It's just like doing that with your inner self so that you can have some more spaciousness.
Yes.
I wrote about the moon and my own personal journey with connecting with her energies. Actually, the title of my chapter is Sinking Cycles, Moon, Body, and Soul. So I loved that you shared, Safrianna, what your title was. And I just think like, yeah, to have these profound stories and to have, of course, I think, and we all share like our stories, but also the tidbits of like, here are maybe the helpful hints, but that workbook really helps us to ground into it. And for me, having part of my story is actually witnessing how I was feeling during each phase of the moon cycle and getting to know intimately not just myself, but also the energy that the moon had available for us all and me specifically and how I interact with all of that. So Tamara, to your point, it's like doing this inner work. It's not just to like check a box. It's to understand how you are actually created, to understand how to best take care of yourself, to be most proactive in the future with leveraging different energies that are available to you at any given time. You know, like getting to know yourself isn't just like, you know, so it's not like a bar trick. Like, so you can go and be like, hey, here's what I learned about the moon cycle. It's like literally so you can work with it and you can support yourself and you can know what to say yes to when and what to say no to when, because that is in your highest interest. So Tamara, what's the title of your chapter?
Mine is restoring a sense of soul purpose, restoring soul purpose. And it has to do with taking people through if they're in a state where they're in transition, they don't know what they want anymore. It's a way to connect in with that core self and then explore that. And I love what you just said, Jillian, too. I work a lot with astrological cycles and even like when to launch things and when to invest in things, when not to. And it is true that this is not like what some of us learned in school, or some of us had better schooling than others, but this is not just cramming for a test and, like you said, going through the motions. This is actually living information that can improve the quality of your life exponentially when you really start to understand you are in cycles all the time. You exist in chapters and cycles, and I always describe the way that we are taught is that we're like robots in the 24-hour workday, and we're just on, productive. And that's not true. We have rest cycles. We have cycles where we have to let go of things. And women understand this innately because it
Right.
happens to us every month. But generally our culture is set up very strangely with regard to cycles. We're not taught that we are part of nature, and we're in a cycle all the time.
Yeah. Life isn't linear. It's not linear.
No, not
very
one little bit.
cyclical.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me in this conversation. I think that I'm feeling very energetically complete myself, but I want to check in. Is there anything else that either of you wants to share today about either the book, about your own experience?
I think just logistically, if you're watching this and you want to be a part of the soul community that will be getting this book, it does launch next Wednesday, May 20th. So not tomorrow, May 17th, but next Wednesday, May 24th. I'm sorry. And we, the co-authors, have a very special Facebook group where we're going to be pouring a lot of content, a lot of free trainings, a lot of opportunities to connect with us personally right into the Facebook group. So not only do you get to be a part of, first of all, bringing this Sacred Beauty into your home, and if you are someone who's interested in supporting women and doing their great work in the world, then actually purchasing your book on launch day, May 24th, is such a service, because then there is like opportunity to get Amazon bestsellers, and we can just utilize that energy of the collective purchasing it, saying yes to themselves by way of getting this book. It's so powerful. There's all sorts of freebies available to just thank you and support you. It's that tango of the and both. And it's just, I'm really excited about that.
I am too, yeah. And I just dropped the link in the description, or not the description, but in the comments of this video for the VIP group, which is where those live trainings will be taking place. I know I'm doing a butterfly immersion type experience for you all in that group, and that's going to be super juicy. And I've been seeing there's going to be all kinds of readings and energy downloads and all kinds of stuff. So definitely join us over there. Tamara, anything else that you want to say?
Yeah, join our VIP group and come get some wonderful connection and trainings. And we're after the pandemic now, and life is opening up, and people are kind of wondering where their bearings are, and it's a time to get excited about our lives again and what's really inside of us, especially the visionaries and the highly creatives. Let's party together. Let's get together and celebrate this experience of creating in life.
Yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. Yep.
I need to pull a transcript of this just for that quote that you just did right there at the end. Yes. Well, thank you so much, both of you, and everyone that tuned in today. I know we had a lot of people kind of popping in and out. If you're watching the replay, let us know. And again, if you would like to support this book, you can reach out to any of us, or any of us that are tagged in the posts. And we will make sure that you get that link on launch day so you can grab your copy of the book and workbook. It's so good. Like, I am just so pumped about this project. It's been my favorite.
Yeah. Oh. You said it. You said it. You heard it here first.
All right. Well, until next time, my friends, be well. Take